Oh, I might be live. Okay. Welcome everyone to a weekend wind down with business coach Nancy. I help interior designers make more money and industry partners as well. So cheers. Happy Friday. Hope everyone, cheers. Kelly, do you have? Cheers. Take a sip. I hope everyone had a wonderful Valentine's Day. I actually went out with a girlfriend of mine and we had so many laughs. So that was awesome. So hi, Sarah. Everyone say hello to us and then I'll introduce my guest if you actually don't know her already. So who's here with me and what did you do for Valentine's Day? Did anyone do anything special? I did wear red yesterday. That's about all I did. That was super special. And like I said, went out with my girlfriend. What else happened this week? I did another webinar this week, but you know what I'm most excited about? On Caden's coming in, my son and my business manager, and we are leaving for Nashville on Monday for a big business building seminar. It's 4,000 people. And it's for my own business, but yet it's not, because I've told Caden it's his job to help our business go to the next level and reach more people and reach more interior design professionals. And it's my job to figure out how to help you guys create a funnel that actually works. Because like right now, if you think about it, the funnel we all teach is like, do your social media and then get them to your website and then have a free opt-in on your website and then nurture that relationship till they eventually need you. And I'm simplifying it, but that's pretty much, right? Wouldn't you agree, Kelly? Like, right? Social media to website to free opt-in, they're on your list, now nurture the relationship. I feel like there's got to be a better way that reaches more people. And I know that Facebook ads did not work for me in the beginning when I didn't have a large enough following. Now they work for me because I have a large following. But I'm determined to figure out a better way, something I can teach you guys how to do that pumps it up to another level. So besides what I already teach, which I think that works, right, Kelly? It works?
Yeah, you do a pretty darn good job about it. So okay. I've got quite a few more interior design friends on Facebook now. So
say that again?
I said I have quite a few more interior design friends on Facebook now. So
yes, that's one of the first things I teach is grow your Facebook friends list. So anyway, today with me, hi, Jennifer. Do you see something? I don't know what Jennifer means by do I see something, but hi, Jen. Hi, Nicole. Hi, Michelle. Sarah's here. Woo. Okay, so I'd like everyone to help me welcome Kelly Fridline. Kelly is one of my clients, and we have come a really long way in the year we've been working together. But tell them a little bit, introduce yourself, and tell them a little bit about your history and your credentials, because I think that's really important.
Sure. My name is Kelly Fridline, as Nancy introduced. I have been working with her for a little over a year. I was introduced to her via an Ivy webinar, and which really attracted me. At the time, I was trying to take on my own interior design projects and do furnishings and do a lot of stuff that doesn't necessarily cover my background and my specialty. To give you an idea, I hold a Master of Architecture. I graduated in 2011 from Savannah College of Art and Design. I have since had the opportunity to work for several high-end architecture firms, specifically a preservation firm in Philadelphia, and one that pretty much taught me most of what I know as architectural training, and that's in upstate New York in Saratoga Springs. Since then, I worked for a design build company in Texas, where I really learned a lot about in-field experience, construction, pricing, how pretty much the whole practice of building and the methodology goes into place. And then after that, I decided to go out on my own, and it has evolved from me taking on my own projects, which I still do. Occasionally, I get to be a little bit more selective now, to now helping interior designers. So with my 8 years of in-field professional experience, I am at a point where I just have to take the exams. Otherwise, I'm almost a licensed architect. So knock on wood on that one. So
I'm knocking. I'm knocking. Are you actually going to go for that, you think?
Oh yeah. Yep. I just have to study and take the exams. So there's 7 of them, so they're not easy.
There's 7 exams for you to become an architect?
Oh, becoming an architect is not easy by any means. And a lot of people use the title and they don't realize just how difficult it is. So any of my designers who've worked with me, they see me kind of skirt around using that title because I don't have that. I'm technically AIA, which the American Institute of Architects has just in the last couple of years made it possible for someone who doesn't have their professional licensure to call themselves an architectural associate or a professional designer. But the term architect is reserved only towards licensed architects who have taken the exams or meet the qualifications designated by NCARB.
So you have all the education, you just have to take the exams now, which is going to be a lot of studying and a lot of focus.
I do. I have all the education, and then I have over 5,800 hours logged and signed by architects for experience.
Wow. Okay. So who's Michelle? Because she's saying you are awesome and not to take you away from her. So I'm assuming she's one of your clients?
She's one of my clients. Yeah, I've been working with her on and off for almost a year now. She's awesome, and she's now taking training sessions from me as well. So
okay, so let's talk about, you told a little bit about how you were trying to, when you first started with me, we were considering like really building your own interior design, which you can do. But then we really kind of honed in on your skills of doing the renderings with the architectural background. So tell everybody what you do for designers with the rendering service.
So what I do with the designers is when a designer commissions work with me, they'll generally email it and or reach out through my website, and I will then contact them and ask them for more details. So that will involve your mood boards, your existing condition dimensions, photographs of this space, all of the material specs down to who the vendor is, what the model number is, everything. And then I will model it in a software called Chief Architect. I previously was trained in Revit and AutoCAD LT, but when I was in Texas, I was introduced to Chief Architect. And I actually remember, if my boss is watching, or my old boss, he's probably cracking up because I went from Revit to Chief Architect, and it's basically a stripped down version of Revit. So for about 6 months, he would have to sit there and listen to me grumbling like, where is this? Why isn't that button here? But since then, I've been working in it for almost 4 years now. And I've really learned the tidbits and the ins and outs. So I'm able to get the work done pretty darn fast and provide my clients really beautiful, realistic renderings. And not only that, when I'm working with interior designers, I've had on a few occasions that they send this stuff to me and I will catch stuff in their CAD drawings or in the architect's plans because I'm basically building it prior to it being installed and ordered. And it's just that second set of eyes that I don't know about other designers, but for me, when I've been looking at it for over 40 hours sometimes, it's really nice to have someone go and do the review for you.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm bringing up your website, and I did this once before on one broadcast, so I'm sorry in advance if it doesn't work, everyone who's watching. But I'm going to try to show you. I hope I'm not sharing the wrong screen, because then, let's see what happens.
There's one that says rendering gallery, if that's what you're trying to do.
Okay, well, first I'm just going to bring up, okay, let's see if I can. Is that better? Like people can see it bigger? Okay, so where do you want me to go on your website to show some of your renderings? Because I think your renderings speak for themselves. It always blows me away when I see them on your Instagram. Tell everyone what your Instagram is.
It's just at Kelly Fridline. It's F as in Frank, RIDLINE.
Okay, so there's a gallery here. You want me to go to the top?
If you go to the top, you'll see a menu towards the top that says rendering gallery. And if you click on that, you'll see a bunch of little squares, and you can just click on one and it will bring them. You should be able to see the full image then if you click on one.
Okay, so I'm always amazed by this. Imagine if you can show your clients, as interior designers, if you can show your clients in advance exactly how their home is going to look. And I love the fact that you gave credit, you obviously you post it, but you're giving credit to the designer who created this space.
And I do that on Instagram too. Since I'm trying to build my following at the moment, I make sure to give credit. I'll share other designers who haven't worked with me. I'll share their work that just really kind of adds to my aesthetic or my client's aesthetic. But I've done it where I've had full features where it's showing their Instagram feeds along with the renderings and work I've done for them. So it really shows how I'm able to integrate my style into their own aesthetic. So
how much does this make a difference for the design? You're basically on the team with the designers who hire you to make sure that their design is going to sell to, it's the design stage, and that they're going to get this client to the next stage without issue. And I love the fact that you can pick out, problems sometimes in advance. So you're actually saving the designer like time, money, and mistakes, right? I always say that the designers save clients time, money, and mistakes, but you're actually saving the designer time, money, and mistakes by having you on their team.
Right. And I've actually had it where, so right now I'm working with an interior designer who hired me to model and render the exterior of her house. And it's basically her dream house. It's this beautiful, it's going to be this beautiful residence in Fairfax, Virginia. And she was having a hard time really seeing what the two-dimensional elevations from the architect were looking like. So she saw my qualifications. I'm on the Ivy Discover page, and reached out to me through there. And what has turned into us really working on the elevation even more, having to use the existing footprint because they've already sent it to permitting. It's evolved into basically me assisting her with the hard finishes and the millwork packages for her whole interior as well. So she's now going to have all of her interior sets, and she's an interior designer. She just generally specializes in furnishings. So now we're able to narrow that down. I'll be able to provide an interior set of millwork and interior elevation drawings and plans, so she can get that bid into not only the exterior architectural elements and the basic floor plans.
I love it. I love it. So Heather, hi Heather. Heather, does my makeup look different, Heather? So just to go off track for a moment. So Heather sent me an over 50 makeup YouTube video, and this woman was so gorgeous. I'm like, oh my God, I have to try what she said. So I start to put on my makeup and I'm like, oh, I should go watch the video. So I'm sitting there with the video and the makeup. I have all the wrong makeup. I have to order everything this woman is suggesting now because I just need to. So anyway, I did a little pump up, Heather. Look at my eyes. I don't know. It's not perfect, but it's a start.
Hey, but at least you have coloring. I'm sitting here like, how much of this room do I blend into? Because I put sunscreen on even in the middle of winter.
Thank you, Heather. She said it looks great. And I want to go back to a comment that Sarah made. And I have said this, I believe, many times in my private group, the Interior Design Business Forum, that you need to, let me see if I can share her comment. When I was an art consultant for 17 years, I wanted interior designers to share me with their other interior designer friends, but sometimes not as much with me, but more like their mill workers, their cabinet makers, their window treatment people. They don't want to share them sometimes, not everybody, because they felt like, well, if I share them, then they're not going to be available for me when I call them. But, here's the thing, guys. If you don't share your industry partners, they will not be in business when you need them next. So really, really important to share your industry partners. And I keep looking at these pictures going, which one do I want to share next?
So there's a rendering at the top, and this is actually a project that I met Sarah on, and she has literally become my industry wife. She does what I do. She just does it in different software. And we've sent other designers to each other just based off of if there's a particular software they're looking for. And she also does amazing work, but we met working for 2 Ivy designers, and we did the Sola graphics design book. And so she did all the CAD work and helped me with the graphics, and I did all the rendering. So there's a couple Sola Salon renderings in there. If you scan up, I think the third one at the top to the left is one of the renderings. And if you click on it, you can see the full one pop up. Yeah.
Wow.
So they spec'd out specific lighting. So I'm pretty sure that pendants from Visual Comfort. Sola Salons, they are a corporate brand. There's over 400 locations. And these specific designers were hired to put a book together so that as each location updates it, they have design standards. And it included 5 different basically schemes, whether they decided to have it a transitional or a modern design. And it included, so you've got the Sola there. They did a board and bat design, and then they incorporated Artfully Walls art, and they just sent that to me, and I was able to add those in as well.
Okay, so one of the things I have to point out, and I have multiple monitors for those who are new to my weekend wind down. There are actually shadows in here from the light fixture. This is a rendering, guys. I don't know how big the picture is on your screen. I could play around with it, and I don't think I'll do any better. Let me try this way. No, it's still the same size. It's just on a different side. How did you do that?
That is actually just a basic setting. So you're able to go into Chief Architect and import models. I actually work with someone, his name is Sam Vitone, and he helps me build models that sometimes I just look at it, I'm like, I'm going to outsource it to Sam because he's going to make this happen and be able to turn it around at a far quicker pace than I can. And he'll send me the models, and then I'll bring them in and tweak them even more. So this is a setting I assigned light fixtures, like basically light bulbs in that setting, and you can turn it on and off. This was actually a proof rendering that I did, and the designers who were in charge, they actually had me turn those shadows off, because the whole point of these renderings was to show franchisees how to actually install this. And for the board and bat details, it was a little confusing. But you can actually see if you escape out, there's one, they picked a metallic raffia wallpaper for another scheme. And I was able to set the settings so that you can actually see the texture and see the shimmer. It's going to be in the rendering gallery where we were.
I think I keep pressing something wrong, because when I'm in, should I just press escape and it brings me back to this? Because I keep hitting the back arrow.
Yeah, just click escape, because it's just basically, I think, so it's that one with the pink chair and the gray back. You're right. So do you see how that you can see that metallic look? And those are all just material settings and how you set that up in Chief Architect. So
wow, that's incredible. And look at the texture. This is so 3-dimensional.
Well, I modeled that. That's actually those are actually standard in Sola Salons. I think they call it like their mini something or other. So Sarah, you can chime in and let them know if you remember, because I don't remember what that was called. So
that's incredible. So okay, all right. So this is so foreign to me, but I know you're really good at it because we've been working a year together. But this is remarkable. And every time I've seen your Instagrams and go, no, really, that's just a photograph. Like, I think they're a photograph sometimes. That's how good you are.
thank you.
It's really remarkable. I mean, how many years have you been using these programs to do this?
Well, that's actually the ironic part. When I was in architecture school, one of my professors, I remember my very first year of school, I took an architectural graphics course, and she spent a decent amount of time saying, make sure you can hand draft, like make sure that you can do hand renderings and you're not completely reliant on the computer. And the reason that she said that was that we are now in an age where so many designers are so computer and technology dependent that if you are on site and let's say a computer goes down, she said that she was in Cairo one time and all the electricity went down. And if they had waited, I think it was a couple of days for the electricity to go up because nobody knew how to draw, it would have put the whole project on hold. So all through architecture school, I really actually concentrated on hand renderings. And I learned Revit, and the first real project that I really did for modeling and renderings in the computer was for my master's thesis. And so I took that, I designed tornado resistant housing and photoshopped a bunch of gardens because I obviously love plants.
Me too.
But I really concentrated on the graphics and color and composition. And I've been watercoloring since I was probably 8 years old. I remember when I was 10, I was taking adult watercolor courses.
Really?
Yeah. So
I actually did not know this about you.
Oh, yeah. That was, my parents said that when I was 3 years old. I'm sure other designers have their parents say this, but they said that they could go into a pre-K group and all the stuff would be up on the wall, and they didn't even have to look at the name. They could just walk by and they knew exactly which was mine because I was so particular about how everything looked. When I ended up going to high school, my private school, I went to do high school as my private school that I graduated from. I started there because of the art department. So hence the draw to SCAD. But so when I graduated from school, I always wanted to be a historic preservationist. And ironically, the firm that I got hired to do, I did a lot of their graphic design work and administrative work and presentations. And then when and that was the same thing. My first internship ever was actually with Martha Stewart. And
wow,
I worked there for the summer in 2009. It was kind of a fluke. I remember being on whatchamacallit, I was on spring break and I think I got a heat stroke. So I was upstairs in the condo and just saying, oh, maybe I want to do an internship. I love Martha Stewart. I'll apply to this job. I actually had no idea what the actual description for the internship meant. I just applied to it. And I beat out over 250 applicants, and it was an architecture internship. So I did inventory, and then I remember one day, my boss, who was the office services manager, she basically was the in-house project manager. They were building out their 10th floor in the Starrett Lehigh building in Manhattan, and that's why they brought me in, because I knew CAD and my background and everything. And she said, there's this whole area of the office that we were planning on leaving some of our folks on the 42nd Street office, but we're thinking we're going to bring them in. Martha just wants to see if we can fit everyone. So she said, before we contact the architects, can you just see if we can fit the 6 offices and I think it was 8 offices and 36 workstations. And so I sat down and I did that really quickly. And to give you an idea, I don't know if anyone watched, what was the Donald Trump show? I think that Martha Stewart did that.
The Apprentice?
Yeah, The Apprentice. They filmed that at the Martha Stewart studio one year, and it was where they filmed it that they decided to build that out. So I was able to fit it all in when they sent those plans to the architect. This was the biggest ego stroke for a 23-year-old still in school. But they said, the architect said, we've done 6 versions of these plans, and this is the best one that anyone came up with. So I actually have part of my plans are built. I haven't seen it installed or built, and it's been 10 years, but That felt really good.
Yeah.
But during that time, the interns got to do presentation work. And then when I went and worked for Finney Design Group in Saratoga, it pretty much evolved into me doing the presentations. I would sit down and Mike Finney is the principal. And at the time, it still might be that way, but he was under the theory and the impression that you don't want to bring anything to the computer until the clients have a clear idea of the design intent and where the elevations are going. So most of the schematic design for the architecture at that office was all hand-drawn, including the elevations. And for most of them while I was there, I did those. I did all of the hand-drawn elevations, including shadows, textures. And then if we had big presentations, I would bring those into Revit. So I got to model the Yaddo Artist Studios in Saratoga Springs. It's a artist community. They built, I think, 6 or 7, and I did the promotionary rendering so that Yaddo could get the funds for it when I was working at Finney. So I really narrowed that down. And then when I went out on my own, I had the additional construction experience from the time I was in Texas. So I've been able to really get a lot of cool experience from different places.
And I just have to point out a couple of little things here. Because this latest rendering that I have up on the screen, and I hope you guys can actually see the detail that I can see, because I do have it up on a bigger screen, but there are petals falling off.
That's okay. So any designer that's looking that uses Chief Architect or SketchUp or anything, when I discovered the 3D warehouse from SketchUp, it is amazing. But that is still, you can bring stuff in. And I 100% recommend to anyone who uses rendering software to still edit the materials, because usually it's still a flat image. No, some people haven't gone in and really edited it. And that's where when I had that raffia wallpaper that you had up, if I had just taken the flat image and didn't do anything with it, then it wouldn't have read 3-dimensionally like that.
This one, right?
That I did do that. The tiles from Porcelanosa, and then the wallpaper. I know it's called Nude. I can't remember who does it.
But look at the reflection in the mirror.
That is actually a standard. That's a setting in Chief Architect, but it's being able to make sure that the tile impressions all pop up. That, when they sent it to me, it said that it was a slightly polished tile with a, like a low sheen. Those are little settings that you can set in your materials on Chief Architect that really add to that realism that otherwise you would have more of a flat response.
Yeah, I got to go back to this. So because look at every time I scroll down, that dark shadow comes up at the bottom. So I'm trying to be careful. Wait.
Yeah, it's the info pop-up. I just want to.
No, it's good. I mean, you give the designers credit but look at the shadows of the sun, like the sun reflection in the chairs. Look underneath the table, guys, if you can see it, and all the detail. Even on the fireplace, the sun is reflecting in there. Like this is, even the half of a clock back here, right? The way, listen, I don't know this software. So to me, this is all amazing how you can do this. And every single one I look at, I find these details that I can't imagine if a designer is working with a client who is especially mid to high end, how this service that you provide or teach, which we'll get into next, wouldn't help sell the job. Someone who says, I'm not sure I want to spend that much. And then they see this and they go, okay, yeah, I'm done.
Well, it's not only selling the job, it's actually narrowing things down from the very start. So this particular rendering, I did this for a designer. Her name's Ann Carr. And the original paneling for this room, it's a pre-existing room. And it was all that paneling you see, that was all mahogany. And so her scheme was she was originally going to just put like a whitewash or pickle the mahogany, basically. And so I did a rendition of that showing her what that would look like. And I'm sorry, I'm trying not to read those comments because I'm trying to talk.
Sorry, but I like to post them to distract you. Wait till the next one. The next one's a question, so I'm going to hold off.
Yes, I know. I saw Michelle's question. I'm like, so this, but in particular, so I did original one not showing this kind of almost coffee toned cream color, and she showed that to her client, and she emailed me back, and she said, can you just change that color real quick, because the original version we didn't like. So just in that, they were able to save the money of having a painter on site, buying those materials, going through the process of if it was mahogany, if you're going to stain it, you're going to then have to sand it and refinish it a certain way. Oh. And they were able to make sure that they took the appropriate preparations based off of the new finish that they were going to be putting on this wood.
I get it. You're saving them money. You're saving them mistakes by doing this up front. So, okay, Michelle's question. Give us an idea of how long it might take to create something so detailed. And I know this is a complicated answer, but we're going to try to simplify it for people. So, and Kelly's laughing because I'm always trying to simplify Kelly's, like, the reality, but you have to be able to put it into English.
Right. So the reality is, so I think if you click to the left, you'll see the other half of the room. So no, sorry, to the right. So if you click to the right, you'll see that. So that's the other half of the room. So this particular project took 2 renderings. And for
wait, I have to stop you for a second. Could everyone please share this broadcast? Because I think this is going to be remarkable to any interior designer you have on your list. So if you feel comfortable sharing, please share, because as Joe Hecker would say, sharing is caring. And I just want to get the word out that this is amazing. So anyway, keep going, Kelly. Sorry.
Thank you. No, please share it. I would love that. So to give you an idea, these double renderings, it took about 10 hours, and that included the processing time. So, and when I say processing time, there's, if you use Chief Architect, there's different rendering opportunities. And if you look at my website, I have this spelled out specifically for home designer, but it shows you different rendering techniques for that particular software. And I know that this is the same for SketchUp and, in fact, Revit. And so you can spend all the time modeling it and putting all the materials in. But when you see renderings that are brought to a more realistic level, they have brought it into a particular processing software or part of the software that will take longer for it to basically, I don't know if the word matriculate, but to process it. So to give you an idea, on average, one of these higher renderings that I do, I set it to a minimum of a 300 DPI. The images are at 2600 pixels. Minimum, that's the size of my screen. And once that everything is set, it processes anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour, sometimes an hour and 15. And sometimes in there, I'm just tweaking it. So I'll have it processed sometimes for 5 or 6 minutes, look at it and say, that's not quite looking the way I want. And anyone who's worked with me, they know I can be hyper anal retentive. So
wow. Yeah. This is the only area that I accept your perfectionism.
Thank you.
Kelly knows that I'm like, you're stuck in perfectionism. You just have to go out and do it. But in this case, when she's working for other people and they are relying on this to present to their clients, and obviously her perfectionism is amazing. And this is what it creates. So Did we answer?
Well, not only that, is that I think a lot of clients can get for a really good rendering artist who understands how to set up a composition and views and process it and all those. Sometimes renderings can feel like a sticker shock, and there's a lot of opportunities for rendering artists out there. But the key is to really ask for the credentials. Make sure, don't be afraid if they don't have a full portfolio, don't be afraid to ask for it. How long, you know, have you ever worked in this sort of project before? What is your experience? You know, don't be afraid to ask those things. And because it really, really makes a difference. Because for instance, this project that I was working on, I modeled a couple of those things for her. I was able to turn around and say, you know, I remember one thing that made Chief Architect really nice is a couple of months later, maybe a month later, Anne actually emailed me and said, hey, you know, we really love how this looked, but can you send me a quick dimensioned floor plan, or at least so that my client can see that those couches are actually to scale before she orders them. So I was able to go in and send her a floor plan with all of her furnishings in it with dimensions on it so that she could show her client, look, this is what it is. And to give you an idea of this one, Anne was actually one of my first rendering clients when I decided to really do this on my own. And this was when I was nailing down what to ask and what, you know, and I remember at the time she sent me a folder full of photos. And to give you an idea, I got a floor plan with 3 dimensions on it. Everything else that's in that model is based off of the photography and my training. So when I was working at Finney Design Group, one of my mentors, his name is Jace. He's now one of the principals. He is like a millwork master, and he really taught me to understand scale and how these cabinetry and the millwork and everything interacts in this space. So I've now gotten to the point, because of how much millwork I drew when I was there, I can look at photos and have a pretty good understanding right off the bat, the size of it, the depth of it, how it was built, those sorts of things. You don't want me to actually build it, but I can draw it for you.
I know. Well, listen, building's a whole nother thing. We'll have somebody else on the show about building.
Right.
So Heather's asking, did you ever get in touch with that guy who renders the rooms ridiculously amazing she found on LinkedIn? No.
No. But I have to. I have a feeling I know what software he uses. So, and I'm like working on learning that right now. It's called Lumion. So I'm not making that an available opportunity yet, but I'm figuring that one out. I did see Jennifer Ramos just asked what the other what I use to process this. It's built into Chief Architect. So, but for something like this, it's really important to make sure that your computer meets the requirements. And to be able to do higher end, high res renderings, you need more than just the minimum, because to give you an idea, I have models that when they're in there and all the finishes are set up and everything, my relatively pimped out desktop slows down. So yeah.
All right, so this is a good time because everyone's asking like what programs you use, and then do you use SketchUp or Revit? Let's talk about, yes, you do these renderings for designers and they can hire you to do that. But let's talk about your latest, I mean, it's been a little while, but it's kind of ramping up now, your latest offering for interior designers.
Michelle's used me. There's a few other designers that have logged in. I use Chief Architect. This is the renderings that you're seeing have all been modeled and processed in Chief Architect. I do post-production in Photoshop, and they're just kind of minor tweaks to just make sure that they're sharp and everything. But I have, since last spring, been offering training sessions for specifically more or less for interior designers. And the difference is, since most of my work is for interior designers, I really know what you guys are looking for. I know the ins and outs, how to make these look the way an interior designer would expect it. I know the cheats. So since I've been working in this for 4 years, I've learned, hey, you can either, let's say, I have learned to use certain tools that aren't necessarily like the way you do it, but they work. And that's the thing a lot of people get caught up in, is the correct way of using a software. But what they forget specifically when it comes to construction documents and drawings and renderings is they are all technically a form of abstraction. So, you know, when you're looking at a two-dimensional drawing, that is an abstract representation of how you want it to be installed. So the key isn't whether you are doing the software correctly, it's are you doing it the way that best represents your project and will get you there faster.
Okay.
So, and I have learned how to do that and set that up, whether it's construction drawings, I have this fully set up and all my documents to meet AIA standards. That includes line weights, call outs, all those things, because I've done that and that's what I'm trained in, all the way down to making a rendering like this and how to set up the shot. And having gone to an architecture program and I would say a pretty highly regarded design school, SCAD isn't just focused on art, they're focused on the technology of it. You have to, at SCAD, take a minimum of 6 electronic design courses. So whether that's AutoCAD, Revit, the Chief Architect's not included, I don't think, at this point. But that includes how to set those shots up. So I was taught, you know, you'll notice in most of my renderings, anything that's a vertical, you're seeing it as a direct vertical line. There's no obscurity to it. And I think that might be part of the architectural training. We've got that, like, it all has to line up sort of thing. But that's, if you also notice, if you look through your photography that you've paid so much money for a photographer to do, most of the shots you are going to be drawn to, your verticals are vertical. There's no, you don't see any of them going like this. And that's just how you see the space.
Tell me about this one that's up on the screen now, because that is gorgeous. Where is that? What is that?
That is for a designer in California, and this is for an office space there. So the designer's name is Antoinette Designs. She's an
Your dog is going crazy, huh?
Yeah, I'm really glad my husband feels like he needs to jump in and like really get them to stop talking or barking right now. But
I'm waiting for your dog to trigger my dog, but for some reason that's not happening. So it's actually not that loud, but I'm laughing only because
I'm ignoring it.
Me. It's usually me.
Well, if we were at my parents' house right now, there'd be an African gray screaming in the background. And it's funny because when you grow up in a house that's basically a zoo, you learn to ignore those things. I'm actually so entranced in this conversation. I didn't even notice they were barking until you pointed it out. And it's the same thing.
I'm sorry. No,
You're
it's
fine.
funny because I'm always so worried about Millie barking. And then so I heard the dog, but it really wasn't loud, but it's cracking me up because you really are tuning it out. And I'd be like, tell her to stop barking. Like, you're so good.
I don't do that when I have kids. I hope I can tune them out when it's the most opportune time, but I don't do that when I actually need to hear them. So
no, I know. I used to say to my kids, unless you're bleeding or the house is on fire, mommy's doing a 40-minute power work session. Don't bother me.
That sounds like my mom. I remember in middle school, I used every excuse in the book to get out of school. And I remember I'd go to the nurse and be like, I don't feel well. So the nurse would then call my mom and say, she doesn't feel well. She looks really pale. And my mom would be like, she is really pale.
Oh my God, listen. The one thing I know for sure is I've raised my children in a way that at least they'll have something to talk about in therapy. My mom was a workaholic. Listen, I was a great mom. I am a great mom. But there are things that, no matter how good you are, the interpretation is what it is.
My dad always said, and I can't say this from personal experience because I'm not a parent yet, but every parent is an amateur. You've never done it before.
Think about how much schooling we need to do everything we do professionally, yet we get to birth kids and raise kids with no education whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A little scary.
That's
But
what
anyway,
yeah.
this rendering, because Heather just said she's streaming through her Apple TV, and it's awesome. Like, I can imagine this on a big screen. I wish I could get rid of us and just show it for a moment, but I can't. They don't give that option in Be Live. So this is an office space.
This is an office space. So the concept of it, you'll see there's basically a kitchen in the back. And then these are all benches. And the idea or the design concept, and this was actually rendered for it was basically a proposal, like an RFP. So they had to show what their design intent was before they even got the bid. So they hired me to do that so that they could get the bid from the architects.
Got it. Okay. Okay, I don't realize how much time has gone by. So I want to make sure we get to, what are you offering besides your rendering services? If you want someone to do it for you, to give these amazing renderings to your clients, I'll just flip through a couple of more. I mean, it's just unbelievable. You're actually teaching classes now.
Yes, I offer training sessions. There's a couple packaging options. There's two that I really recommend. The first one is I call the Intro to Chief Architect. That includes 1 90-minute sessions, which I asked my clients to schedule that first, and then it includes 2 50-minute sessions. And I can honestly say most of the clients who do that, they end up buying additional ones afterwards because they realize how beneficial it is. And that's one-on-one. So we're logging in to Zoom. You're sharing your screen. You're sharing your desktop with me. I'm actually recording it because I know as interior designers, we're all visual people. So I don't know about you, but if I was being trained like that, I'd be staring the entire time, being like, are you freaking kidding me? I've been trying to do this for how long? And then get off the phone and be like, how the hell did she do that? And then
right, I got to go back and like play and pause and play and pause to get it really into your memory.
Right. So you get the recording to download and keep in your arsenal for the future. That doesn't matter what the length of your session is. You just get that recording. And it takes some sessions will take a little longer for some reason for Zoom to process than others. Once it's processed, you'll get that. It's just a link for you to download or watch it. And then the other one that I think is really beneficial for designers who really want to more or less learn how to do renderings like this. That this is actually going to require, like I said, I've been doing this for 4 years. So it has taken a lot for me to figure out how to do these. That is my coaching. So that is a subscription-based offer. It is for a minimum of 3 months. And with that, you get 2 90-minute sessions and 2 quick help 30-minute sessions. And then in addition to that, because I know some designers don't have the computer capacity to render like this, or they're like, I just want you to do it because you know how to set up the camera. I just want to learn how to model it for you. If you are a coaching subscription client, then you actually get 10% off my processing time. So anytime that you are sending it to me while you're my subscription client, I'll take 10% off whatever you're in.
So explain that again. So they're a subscription coaching client. So you're
right.
coaching.
So I have right. It was actually kind of modeled towards like your one-on-one offerings. Yeah. I know personal experience. So it's with that, you get 2 90-minute sessions and 2 30-minute sessions. So if you end up having it where one of those 3 months, or if you need it longer, then you can schedule all of those like when you need to. And I've had most of my clients work on their projects. So in some cases, I've had it where this is actually becoming more common, where they will actually send me the file in their project and they will watch me work and talk through it, and they get the recording. So they're getting my expertise, they're watching me do it. And then if they are the coaching client on top of it, I've got already have the file. And then the time that it takes for me to finish up anything and then process it on my computer is billed at a 10% discount off of my hourly rate.
So I like this because they're learning at the same time. You're recording, you're training them, and then if they need you to actually do to get it done or to get it to a next level, you're actually recording that, and they're getting a copy of that as well. So they can go back and watch what you've done.
They're only watching for the time that they've paid for the sessions. It's not included in the processing time, because if anyone has ever worked in processing or rendering, you would be, I mean, that is boring. You're literally just watching your computer like sharpen pixels for an hour. But sometimes it takes a little bit more than an hour, because I'm setting up the shot to make sure the lighting's correctly and those little teeny tiny tweaks.
Oh my God, look at all these little teeny tiny tweaks. Like, seriously, look at all this detail.
And so if anyone is interested, I just want them to know that if they log on to my website and subscribe to my MailChimp, I'm also in the process of working with a designer who owns a design collaborative. And I'm in the very early stages of putting together a live training opportunities where it would have a small group of interior designers at various cities and collaboratives where you can sign up, and it's more or less specific to home designer and interior design for interior designers. So you're not going and paying all that money to go to a chief architect training session and you're learning how to draw a wall that anyone who's played Sims can figure out how to do. You're going into like the deep and dirty and what you need to know to make your renderings and your presentations as an interior designer meet what people are expecting when they watch HGTV now. Actually, yours are going to be better than HGTV. I can tell you from personal experience.
I love to hear that. So you're holding live workshops, and you're actually traveling. You're planning on traveling. You're planning on traveling, and you'll have 6 to 8 people in the room. You'll be able to walk around and actually lean over their shoulder and help them.
Yep. So the concept would be they show up with their own laptops. They make sure that they have the software set up. And I think I'll probably, for the first day or so, we'll do a test project, and then we'll just go over, hey, here's how you set up a material. Here's how you do this, this, and this. And then what'll be included is you'll get your own personal training session with me. So we're still working on those little details, get those nailed down. But if you are subscribed to my email, then when those become live, you'll have that opportunity. So the first one will probably be located in Chicago, though.
I'm just so excited for this whole avenue of your business. So I'm on your homepage now. How do they subscribe?
There should be a pop-up that just comes in. Otherwise, I think if they go down, there should be a subscription pop-up. If not, I'll make sure that that's active.
Okay, so sometimes the pop-up is on exit. So if I go towards your X, no, yeah, you may want to look at that. But
the other opportunity is I've just started a Facebook group it's called Interior Designers Using Chief Architect and Home Designer. You can search that. That is another way to subscribe, because I ask for your email to join it and your website. So that will also be added to my mailing list, and you will be kept up to date there as well.
Perfect. Okay, so your Facebook group, name it again.
It is Interior Designers Using Chief Architect and Home Designer.
Okay, and for them to actually, what'd you say?
I said it's very exciting.
All right, but you know what? It is exciting when you actually look at what you can accomplish. It's amazingly exciting. Let me see if I can Unshare. Okay. Are we back? Just the two of us? Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So Michelle's saying, oh, sign me up when you come to Atlanta. I'll have to invest in a laptop. My Mac is too big to lug around. Yeah, I can't tell you how many people need new computers, and I get it. It's like an investment. You have to think about it. You're a Mac user. You have to go to a PC if you want to save some money, but it's
Well,
so
that's actually
intimidating.
for anyone who's just trying to figure out softwares. If you're trying to decide on an all-in-one, Chief Architect is applicable to both Dells or like both PCs and Macs. So that was the initial final draw for me when I went out on my own. I was trying to decide whether to stay in Chief Architect or go to Revit. I've been a Mac user for 13 years, so it was really hard for me to do that. Ironically, I just bought my first PC in 13 years, but I can tell you Windows does not look the same. Every time I log in, I'm like, I don't freaking know how to use this computer. Sarah was here 2 months ago, and she just heard me grumble for like the entire 3 days, being like, I don't know how to use my brand new computer. I don't even know how to find anything on it.
You know what? I switched from Mac, which I was so dedicated to PCs, and now I don't think I'd ever go back to Mac. But everything was opposite in the beginning, and it really did drive me crazy. So,
well, nowadays, I think it's different than 10 or 12 years ago when iPhones weren't out versus now everyone knows the symbols because they work on their iPads and iPhones versus if you were a Mac user before that era, I remember walking in and be like, what the heck is this compass and what do I do with it?
It's true. It's true. Jennifer's asking, you mean Chief Architect? I thought that's what you said.
Chief Architect, yes. That's the software that I use. My renderings are processed using Chief Architect Premiere, and they actually just came out with the beta version for the next, it's like X11, and I would 100% make sure that if you are buying it or you are subscribing to it, make sure to get the SSA program. For any client who doesn't have that, I ask them to sign up for it just because you get all the catalogs, you get any service support from Chief Architect, and you get all of their upgrades. So usually Chief Architect has upgrades once a year. You're not then going and paying $300 for that and then paying $5 per catalog that subscribes. And Chief Architect catalogs, when I say that, that includes Brizzo, Omega Cabinets, GE, all these things that have all been built in. You're not going into, I use the 3D warehouse all the time for my furnishings, but you're not going in and bringing it in from 3D warehouse and trying to tell it what to do. They're already installed. So you put a vent in there. Sometimes they know that there is a light built in and you can turn that on. So
love it. Love it. Okay. Where can they find you? Tell them your website.
It is www.kellyfridlinedesign.com.
Okay. And if they're interested in your rendering services, there's a link there.
There is a link there. They can contact me directly via my contact page.
Okay. And if they're interested in your coaching and your teaching of the software itself, Chief Architect and Home Designer?
Yep, Home Designer. So they can sign on that. If they go to my services, they'll see a little blurb about training sessions, and then under there's a big button, and they can either set up, I offer 2 new designers complimentary 20-minute consultations, whether it's they want to hire me for renderings or they want to decide if they need training services. I can help them nail it down. I've actually had conversations with designers trying to figure out what computer to buy. So those are all there. Some of, if you join my Facebook group, you'll see little tidbits. It's interior designers using Chief Architect and Home Designer. It's still in the early stages, but my plan is every Tuesday you're going to get, it's called Tidbit Tuesday. So I ask designers to ask what they want. They'll see a little video of, hey, here's how, the very first one is, here's how you can set up a wallpaper material, and just basic settings like that. So,
well, I love you, and I think you are so freaking talented, and I'm so glad I was able to kind of highlight your services today and share the screen, because I think that speaks volumes for your talent and how far you're going to go. And I think your service alone helps designers sell more of their service, and the training you can provide for them. And you know, I'm a believer in sharing your knowledge, share your knowledge, because the more you share your knowledge, the more you can rise up to even a higher level. So you're doing incredible. I love it.
Thank you. Well, it's the same thing. And just so you guys know, like, Nancy is awesome. And if you are hands down trying to decide whether to hire her or not, you will not be mistaken doing it. Obviously, if you saw my post on her group page earlier this week, you'll know that.
Yeah, you know what? Kelly did this beautiful blog post and a video to go along with it as a testimonial to my coaching services, which I so appreciate. I love coaching women and men business owners in this field because I'm 17 years, well, now I'm 20 years in this field, actually. And nothing makes me happier than it, you know, listen, I need to make money to live my life too. However, I got just right before we went live, one of my past clients is like, I can't thank you enough for all you've done for me. This is what happened today. And she sold, you know, she's in the process, she didn't sell yet, of selling a designer for a day, which is one of the programs that I've been doing webinars about. So that actually gives me goosebumps. The testimonials, the way I'm changing people's lives means more to me than the money I'm making. And I genuinely mean that. It's unbelievable.
Well, it shows, because you've changed my ability and how I work with people. So
thank you. So, all right, everyone, it is 5:32. It just switched when I looked. Thank you so much for being here today at Weekend Wind Down. I think I said last week that I wouldn't be here this week, but I was wrong. I'm actually not going to be here next week because I am going to be in Nashville. So I will be back the week after that. Anyone who lives in Nashville who is watching this broadcast, if you have time to connect with me, although I will be at a big conference that's from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, maybe we can sneak in a little visit. So thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Thank you, Kelly, for being here. And I will see all you guys in 2 weeks for the next Weekend Wind Down. Bye.
Perfect. Bye. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Thank you, Nancy.